Imagine a factory where raw materials are moving on conveyor belts. Now there are machines placed at different stations, and the only job of each machine is to check whether the raw material is good or not. If it is good, then the machine processes it. If not, then it ignores it. But how does a machine decide whether a raw material is good or not? In a neural network, a neuron faces a similar dilemma. It gets the inputs, multiplies them with weights, and adds the biases. But after all of these mathematics, how does a neuron decide whether it should fire or stay silent? If there is no decision-making process, all of our neurons will act like basic linear functions, and they won't be able to process the complex patterns and understand them, like in face recognition or in predicting stock prices. This is where activation functions come in, the secret ingredient that give neural networks their decision-making power. Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Selena, and in this week's video, we'll explore what activation functions are, why they are so essential, and why they help deep learning models understand the world just like we do. Let us start by understanding why we need activation functions in the first place. And why is linearity through linear functions not enough to predict things using a neural network? If we only use linear activation functions, each layer will only apply linear transformations to the data. Sure, we'll be taking some input and then multiplying it with the weights, adding the bias, but this is just like the equation y equals mx plus c. And for every set of inputs, we'll be getting an output, but this won't give us any decision. We won't be able to predict anything with it. That is why we need non-linearity, and that is why we need advanced activation functions. To solve this problem, we use activation functions like ReLU, sigmoid, and tanh, which introduce curved and non-linear boundaries to our dataset. This allows the model to turn and twist the decision boundaries so as to fit the complexity of our data. There are multiple activation functions used in different cases. So now we are going to dive into them and understand them in detail. Our first activation function is the step function. It is also known as binary activation. It is the easiest activation function, and it only activates when the input to the activation function crosses a certain threshold. And in this case, it is 0. So if the value of the input is greater than 0, then the answer will be returned as 1, and if it is lesser than 0, then it will be returned as 0. Make a note that the input we are giving is the input value given to the neuron into the weights plus the bias. This entire thing is the input to our activation function. Think of it as a room light that is controlled by a motion sensor. So if a motion is detected, the light turns on, and if it is not detected, it stays off. This is the easiest activation function, but it is not used so much in deep learning. So now we'll move on to the other crazier and more advanced ones. Our next function is the sigmoid. It is a smooth S-shaped curve that squashes any input that you give to it between the values 0 and 1. Unlike the step function, the sigmoid function gradually transitions between 0 and 1, which makes it great for probability-related tasks. To understand this, take the example of a thermostat controlling your AC. So let's say that the temperature of the room is very high, then the AC will turn on strongly. And then the temperature of the room is very low, so the AC will turn off. But if the temperature of the room is moderate, then the AC will be partially on. That is, the activation function value will be somewhere in the center of 0 and 1, let's say 0.5. That is why this function is great for probability related tasks like binary classification. Let's say you want to distinguish between a cat and a dog, and it is becoming very difficult for you because they look very similar. So the output of the neuron will tell you how much does it look like a dog and how much does it look like a cat. Like let's say 0.6 for dog and 0.4 for cat. That means it looks 60% for like a dog and 40% like a cat. Our next function is tanh, also known as hyperbolic tangent. Now this is just a scaled version of the sigmoid function that we just saw, which looks like an S curve. But over here, instead of the output values lying between 0 and 1, the output values lie between -1 and 1, which makes it great because it is 0 centered. In this case, the gradient is stronger in the middle, which makes the learning faster as compared to the sigmoid activation function. Our next activation function is the rectified linear unit, which is an absolute game changer. It is one of the most popular activation functions in deep learning. And unlike sigmoid and tanh, this is relatively simple and super efficient at the same time. It has a very simple mathematical formula of max of 0, x, which means that if your input value is 0 or lesser than 0, then the output will be 0. That is, for all negative values, the neuron will stay shut or silent. And if the input value is greater than 0, then the output will be the same as the input value. So let's say I input 5, I'll get the output 5. I input 10, I'll get the output 10. But if I put the input as minus 10, I'll get 0. There are no complex calculations or exponentials, just a simple thresholding operation. Rectified linear unit is widely used in the inner layers of a neural network model because it removes all of negative and 0 values and only keeps the important ones. So this can be used for feature extraction. Finally, we have the softmax activation function that is used in the output layers of the classification models when there are more than one outputs, or let's say multi-class classification. For example, if you want the output to guess which animal it is, instead of just a dog and a cat, there are multiple different animals. A dog, cat, rabbit, giraffe, horse, then these are multiple different classes. So for this, you use the softmax activation function. It works by converting the raw outputs into probabilities, and the highest probability class is the predicted class. For example, let's say there is a digital voting system in which there are 3 candidates. So the output, instead of being like candidate A has won, it will be like candidate A has 70% probability of winning. We have understood what activation functions are and what are the different types of activation functions. But it is important to note that you have to choose the right activation function, or else there will be slower learning, or even the model will get stuck and you won't be able to do anything about it. So for that, you need to understand what are the different issues you can face with the different activation functions. The learning process of a neural network happens through backpropagation. Now, during backpropagation, we find the derivative of the different activation functions we are using to finally figure out what are the weights or the correct weights that can be used for the different layers for the model to be able to predict properly. For sigmoid activation function, we have the vanishing gradient problem. So in this case, for very large values of input, the gradient can become very small or just vanish away, which means that the weights won't be assigned any good value. It will always be close to 0, which would mean nothing. And this will eventually lead to slower learning of the deep learning model. In case of ReLU, we have the dying neurons problem, which means that if the input is a negative value, the output will be 0. And so this would mean that some neurons will be just inactive forever. To solve this problem, we use leaky ReLU. So in this case, instead of all the negative values becoming 0 for output, they gain a small negative value, which means they are not completely dead, and so these neurons are not completely inactive. They hold some value. Now that you know all about activation functions and how they work, you can go on and experiment with different activation functions for your own model. That was all for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll be back next week with another exciting video. Till then, thank you for watching and see you again.